Hi there everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Inside the Junior Reign, where we give you an inside look at how we deliver our mission of training and transforming our youth for a better future through the great sport of ice hockey. I'm your host here and club president, Ben Frank, and with me each and every week will be Paul Esdale, our Chief of Hockey Operations. Hey Paul.
Thanks Ben, and thanks for welcoming me.
Yeah, but now before we get into this, whether you're watching via live stream or you're watching the replay, do us a favor, type in a hi or what's up or a thumbs up, something in the comment section so we know you're with us and that we can interact with each and every one of you each week. Another thing, while you're here, like I said, whether you're watching us live or via the replay, type in any questions you might have. This is your forum, our place, our chance to interact with you, questions or comments you might have, and we'll go back and we're going to read every single comment every week, and we'll be able to address your questions on this show, on our weekly show here. So make sure you're commenting. We'll be checking all of them every week, and we can come back to it if you've missed us on the live chance. A lot of the people that are with us, parents and players, they might be at work or at school, so we want you to make sure you can get value out of this from the replay as well. Now, let's see here. So this is our first show, so bear with us through the rough patches. We're reading our notes, we're trying to make sure the live stream's working, and so on and so forth. We're going to be doing this show every Monday at approximately 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 to 2:30 p.m. And like I said, the replay will be posted, and it'll give you a chance to ask questions and interact with us there. To start off our first episode, Paul, I wanted to just introduce what we're doing here, why we decided to make this show. Did we want to be TV stars? Did we just feel like getting on camera? Why do we make this show for our parents and players?
Right. Well, I think hockey's our passion, right? I don't think acting is or public speaking really per se. I think we really want to give people an opportunity to connect with us and be able to answer questions and really show what goes into a youth hockey organization. And there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do that maybe people don't get to necessarily see on a day-to-day basis. So we think it's a great platform to let people really dive inside the Reign and inside youth hockey to see what makes it and what makes it tick. And hopefully people are interested, and we can cover some various topics from kid youth sports to all the way up to parents and all sorts of things that cover the spectrum.
Great. Yeah, and this is, with technology, what it is these days, our chance to really, we just want to be transparent. We want to open our world to you guys, whether you're a hockey player, whether you play for our club or not. You could be from California, from somewhere else, and you found our Facebook page or our YouTube page, whether you're a hockey parent, again, from our club or not, a coach, an administrator, a hockey leader, a youth sports leader, that has some interest in certain topics, whether you're part of our club or not. Come and watch, ask questions. We're here to answer any question that you might have about youth hockey or youth sports. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it, and just our chance to really interact with our community, and especially with players and parents from our club. We're a large club. We have 18 teams. We have 3 locations, and even when we're at the rinks, for practices, people are rushing from work, from school. They have homework. They have off ice. They have on ice. And you don't always have time to dig in to deep topics with people and deep questions with people at the rink every day. And this is just your chance to come on live, ask us questions, come in the comments later, ask us questions, and we can address them. We can see what's on your mind and things that you might have that we can help you with, and really also show you what we're doing, what's coming up, and some things that we're working on.
Yeah, I think it's a great platform for us to learn as well. I think we don't know all the answers, and I think getting people to talk about what they're doing and what they see with their youth hockey experience, and if we can, like you said, find some answers to those questions, and we can learn along the way as well. I think that's great for everyone involved. Awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things, and sometimes we just also to know what things you guys have questions on, right? We might think something is inherent that when we're, even if it's a certain drill that we do or a practice plan or a plan we have for the season that we maybe understand because we've designed it for the past 3 years, and someone that's new, there may be something about that they don't understand or they're not sure why, and that actually will allow us to have a chance to find out what those questions are, so we can address them for people.
Yeah, no question. I think giving back to the game and giving back to the people is important in providing value, right? This is a unique experience, like you said, with the technology nowadays. You can really document this and talk about it, and we can look back on it and improve on it, and just be able to connect with people better.
For sure. So Paul's been with us. He's our Chief of Hockey Operations now. He's with us for almost 6 years. I think it was a little over 5 years. He's just come into this role recently. Paul, tell us a little bit about where the program's at this point in the season, where we're at, what's some things that are coming up next.
Sure. So the exciting stuff we got going on this season, the last couple of years, we've really developed our curriculum, and we've really implemented that at the younger ages, the 8U, 10U, and 12U, and we're now in week 5 of the season. So we're starting some preseason games. We've been a couple games each team has played, and now about 5 weeks of practices starting this week. So it's really great to see already from week 1 to week 5, especially the younger kids, where they started to already in a month of how much improvement they've had. And we're really diving into the start of the season now. Regular season, we started in a couple weeks, and we're excited about that.
Awesome. Now tell us a bit, so you mentioned week 5. So tell us a bit how that curriculum is constructed, so you know what's happening in week 5 versus week 1, what's coming up in the future. How does that reverse engineer kind of how that was created?
Yeah, so looking back probably 4 or 5 years ago, we've been to a lot of USA Hockey conferences, and I think about 4 years ago we were sitting at one of those, and we were trying to figure out how to deliver a consistent product to families and a consistent experience. Really, that's what it's about, right? We want to make sure hockey is the vehicle for life for these kids, and we give them a life-changing experience. And that's why I'm involved, and that's why I'm passionate about hockey, because I know all the great experiences I've had, and I also know some of the negative experiences I had. Sure. And we want to make sure, as an organization, that we deliver great experiences. And they have hockey for life is kind of what we say, and make that a life-changing experience. So when we're looking at that and being at all the USA Hockey conferences, there's a lot of great info, but we were just trying to figure out how to put it all together and deliver that consistent experience for people, and deliver the right things at the right times at the right age groups. And that was always a challenge. We didn't really know how to do that. And the idea of a curriculum, it sounds so easy now, but looking back, and to be honest, there's not a lot of hockey programs have a in-depth curriculum. A lot of schools do, and but with hockey, it's just not there really yet. Yeah. And hopefully down the road, it'll be consistent all over the country. But right now, it's not. And USA Hockey has done some thing and put out practice plans off ice, on ice, and we modeled our program around that in the skill progression book. And it was important to us because we knew that hockey training and hockey development had to be age appropriate. I think that's what we were missing out on. And every coach has a little bit different uniqueness, and we wanted to make sure that within the structure of the guidelines of the curriculum, there's the teaching done there, and so all the kids would have the same experience.
Well, I remember. Sorry to cut you off. I remember back 4 years ago, whatever it was, when we were in that conference, and at the time we had 15 or 16 teams. We were still a fairly big club, and a lot of, if not all of our coaches had some high-level hockey background experience. Maybe they played junior, college, or pro. Even some guys who played in the NHL. And I think you were asking me some questions like, what's happening on the ice in the practices next week? Do we know? Yeah. Do we know what's happening for Squirt A practice? Do we know what the Bantam practice is going to do? And I had no answer, right? Like I don't know what the coach is going to. And it's not like the coaches didn't have any experience, sure. But I also think that they also didn't maybe know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. And they had hockey knowledge and experience where they could run a practice, but what we wanted to do was not just, okay, what went well in the game that week, what didn't. We didn't break the puck out well. Our power play wasn't good. So now we're going to work on that this week for our 10-year-olds. Yeah. We wanted to have a more intentional plan on, because we did a lot of soul searching a few years ago, sure. Right, when we changed the program. It wasn't just about building hockey teams and then trying to win the game on Sunday. It's, well, what are we here for? What are we trying to accomplish? And at the end of the day, it wasn't about our results, right? Trying to finish first place. Of course, we love to win. We love to win. We want to win. But what are we really trying to do, right? We're trying to prepare these kids to become the best they can be. All of them, not just certain kids. All of the players, give them the opportunity to become the best they can be and pursue the sport to the fullest potential, and let that sport serve their life, right? So if that's what we want to do, how are we going to actually intentionally plan out the year so that we're delivering what they need every moment, rather than just reacting based on what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, totally. And I think it started with because we weren't happy with ourselves and what we were producing. I think we knew we had some hockey knowledge, but so did some other guys, and we kind of put it out there. But look at my day 3 or 4 years ago was, answer a bunch of emails in the morning, maybe a couple phone calls, and then at 2 o'clock, I'm rushing the rink, trying to put a practice plan together, show up, and do the best I can, and that was probably the best version of that. And we don't know what else was happening at the other groups, other teams, and we didn't know exactly if that was right. And we were being very reactionary on the Saturday or Sunday game. And yes, Saturday and Sunday game is very important, but we all know that 70-80% of the season is actually done on the practices, right? And that's the most important time. That's really where the development's going to happen, and that's why the curriculum and the evolution was so critical, because we knew we had to deliver on that. We understand youth sports is expensive. Ice time is precious. And that's why everything has to be planned out to T. And if it's not, if I go out there with a coffee in my hand and there's 30, 40 kids out there and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do and I don't really know, it's going to be a complete disaster, and it's going to waste a ton of time. And in turn, that hurts kids' development, and they're not going to hit their genetic potential. And then that decreases their passion. So it's a snowball effect, right? And I think for us is, first, before we got into that, was finding our why. Why are we here? And like I said, I was talking about giving back, but giving the best experience possible and maximizing everything. And I think that's where the curriculum is. It's still in its early stages in its third year, but I think every year it's improved, and it will just continue to grow. And I think that's really what's evolved, and that's how important it's been. And that's, now we feel better about ourselves. And I think we deliver a better product, and we still can improve in all those areas.
Well, I think it forced us to ask ourselves some tough questions too, right? Is we had to actually stop and say, okay, what's the end goal for each and every kid, right? What do we want? We want to make sure we don't know who's going to make it to be a pros or college hockey, and not everyone's going to choose that path, right? But we don't know. We don't know who's going to choose that path.
Right.
So our job is to give every single player the opportunity to pursue it as far as they want to. We don't want to be the reason why an 8-year-old who had that potential, maybe had that drive and work ethic at 14, 15 years old, they decided they want to become a top player, and they didn't now have what they needed for the last 5 years, and now they can't catch up because we just been figuring out what we're going to do when we get to the rink, or just basically trying to win a game on Sunday, play this system, play these positions, versus what's going to help that individual player pursue the game of their first potential. So that process, right, we have to actually okay, so what does an 8-year-old need, not just this year, next year, the next year, how do they build from year to year within the age groups, and then what are we doing and why? So guys like yourself and myself who've been in hockey for 30 years, actually, well, I like this drill. Well, why do I do why do I do this drill? And what purpose does it serve? And does it serve the ultimate purpose? And why and how and when? And I think all these questions aren't normally asked.
Yeah, and I think it allowed us and forced us to dive into the science of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes we don't really think about that, right? That there's actually science that says kids are open to certain windows of trainability, right? And they're optimal for physical capacities to grow. And that the two most important things for development is how we train and the environment and culture.
Yeah.
And if we don't have those and we don't even know what they are, then I can't sleep at night because I know we're not delivering the right program. And we want this to be something that makes impact on people's lives. And it's so interesting because I deal with a lot of the younger kids now, is that we know from the research and the studies and the science is that any kid can become a good hockey player. Yeah. He may not make the NHL, but if he does the right things on the ice and he's in the right culture and environment, he can become pretty good. Yeah. And he can be a hockey player, and that can serve his life if he wants.
He or she,
right? Yeah. Of course, right? And that's the thing that sometimes I think there's a major misconception in youth sports or youth hockey in general, is that people will see this kid at 8, 9 years old and say, well, he's not a very good player.
Yeah.
And really that frustrates, I think, me and I think all of us in general, because we know that it's not the player's fault. Yeah. It's usually the coach's fault, right? They haven't served the player the right way and given the right way to train and the right environment and culture. And those are some of the things that we did some self-reflection on. And we were too busy doing our college hockey drills And because we were coaching how we were coaching, that's just not, and we see that still today in sports, right?
I'll be the first to admit, right? I played college hockey, and I had my staple of drills that I loved. It's 2-on-1 flow drills, and when the kids did them right, they looked, the passes were going, and it was up and down the rink, and the parents were like, oh, look, it looks great. Yeah. It usually took them a little while to learn the drill, even though they may not have been known why. And when we started going to those USA hockey conferences, the NARS conference, hockey directors course, and learning the science behind how to develop athletes and develop hockey players, we had to scrap all that stuff, right? And I remember scrapping those drills and things that I'd done for years, or things that I thought were great, and not doing them. And it can be humbling. It can be hard to communicate to people why you've changed things, and it can be hard to get other coaches and things to actually step back and honestly look at what they've been doing. Is there a way to do it better? Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe it's okay. Yeah. But this actually having a curriculum in a structure where we can stop and look at what are we doing week 2? What are we doing week 24? Can it be better? How can we improve it, right? And not being attached to our egos with, I really like this drill, this is the one I designed, and how can we improve that?
Yeah, and I think that's why when you're looking at a curriculum and looking at the contents of it, the drills, right? It's always got to be age appropriate. And some of those drills you probably did, they may be good for older age groups, or maybe good in a certain station, or the ice, cross ice, or half ice, or something that we're using the whole ice, right? They still can be good, right? It's how you have that structured, right? And I think when talking about hockey drills and stuff, that's something I've been around my whole life. My dad being a career coach for 25 years is, especially at the younger ages, and even up until 16, 17, 18, is it fun? Because if we're not structuring youth sports to be fun, the kids are going to quit, right? And then we lose hockey players, and we lose those kids growing up and having kids and putting them in the sport, right? So it's got to be fun. There's got to be an engagement level, right? And it's got to make sense. Like, why are we doing it? It's got to be game related in some way, whether it's a small part of a skill where it goes from a block drill and then into something, progresses into something that's live game action. It has to relate to the game.
So
that's
fun, age appropriate, and game relatable, right? How about, so it should be fun for the 7-year-olds. What about the really serious 12-year-olds? What about the 18-year-olds? Should it be fun?
It has to be fun, right? You look, all the interviews, like I see Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. I saw a great one in USA Hockey Magazine. He talked about his season. He thought he did a pretty good job with the Maple Leafs this year, last season, right? They made the playoffs. He said, I'm just trying to go out there and work hard and help my team and have fun. Yeah. Like, I almost see in every article, Sidney Crosby, all these things.
Every time the guys retire, too, right? They say, well, it wasn't fun anymore. And Timo Solani, when he retired, well, it just wasn't fun anymore. He's, a 40-year-old millionaire, right?
Right, and that's the thing, right? It is, passion is critical, right? And we talk about fueling the passion, right? Kids, it has to be the right culture and right environment, because if they don't have fun and they're not engaged, they're not going to play. And they're going to play something else. And we understand that. In the U.S., it's not ingrained in the culture as much as it is in Canada. It's getting better, and it's growing in California. But remember, there's football, there's soccer, there's basketball, there's baseball, there's all these sports, right? And then hockey is somewhere in there. But we want to make sure that when we sign up for hockey as kids, is like it becomes theirs, right? And it's like they own it, their ownership of their experience.
Well, now there's also video games and YouTube and Netflix and everything else, right? And so that's I want to just address that for a minute. Sure. The fun aspect. What I think a lot of people don't realize, especially for the younger kids, is they can do a lot of skill development things and they can have great skills. But I think a lot of people maybe not realize how hard it is to really make it. Like Division I college, major, junior, professional hockey at any level. The amount of effort, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that between the ages. All ages, but especially as they get older and they decided that this is my path, I want to be a hockey player, I want to be a real hockey player, professional hockey player, that, if they can be skilled, they can be big, they can be strong, they can be fast, they can be smart, but if it's not fun, are they going to put in the effort that's required to really take it to the next level?
Right, and that's the intrinsic miss, right? It has to come from within to take it to the next level and reach those goals. We understand that the percentages of making, even playing junior hockey, even playing college is low, right? Yeah. And that's why it has to be more than just, I'm trying to make it, I'm trying to get a college scholarship. Like, what does hockey can do for you as a young man or young woman? What can it do to help develop you as a person? And that is really not utilized in youth sports, and that's critical. And that's
but they gotta love it, though, right? I mean, if they don't love it,
they have to.
If they don't love it, if it's not fun, if they don't just want, that's what they want to do. they can't do any of those things, right? They can't make it because they won't put the work in, they
Sure.
won't put the grueling work in. But also, like you mentioned, what else can we get out of the game? So we know that's one of the other things we had to decide on ourselves too. Right?
Sure.
We each played college hockey. You went and played pro hockey. After that, you were a Division I All-Star in college. Played a number of years in minor league hockey, pro in Europe. We had to stop and look at ourselves, knowing, okay, if less than 1% of these kids that we work with, and it's about 300 plus kids every year times. We plan on doing this for our life, so we're talking thousands and thousands of kids. Are we satisfied if 2 make the NHL and the rest of them, oh well? Or what do we want to make sure happens? What can we be happy with 100% of the kids that we work with to give and provide to them? Right, the reason I bring up the fun part of this is, I think them loving it and having the passion, and having the fun, allows us to get all those other benefits out of the sport too.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm involved in youth hockey. Right, if for me, if there wasn't a bigger purpose and a bigger mission, then if it was just go on Sunday trying to win a couple hockey games and try to develop an elite hockey player and put in the NHL. That's, like you said, the odds are against it, right? So I think the model is that we're trying to give back to everyone that's involved, that everyone we can reach out to, whether they're in our organization or not in our organization, anyone that we interact with, that hockey is a great sport. And it can, and if done right, especially youth sports, if it's done right, it can be life-changing. And like you said, going back to the fun is critical. If it's not fun, they're not going to play anymore. And the other thing is that we don't talk about a lot is maybe people don't understand. Sometimes making practice fun is harder than people think. Yeah. Right? If you go walk around a youth hockey rink, you may just see some kids standing around.
It's easy to run a board in practice.
Right? That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So
there's a million hockey drills on the internet, right?
Yeah, so that's some of the things that we'll talk about throughout this show maybe is specific drills on, this is harder to structure than you think about how to make it fun and how to make it game related and specific to the sport and to the game, right? And those are like what they talk about, you say hockey, the Flintstone vitamins, right? Is those critical little things, those progressions, those manipulations of how you structure it and make it age appropriate that really maximizes the development, but also maximizes the fun factor. And it's critical. It's from 6 years old to 18-year-old, it's fun. And even like we talked about in college and pro, it's got to be fun or they're not going to play.
And if they're having fun when if they want to come to the rink every day, because you don't want, I don't want to go to practice because that's boring and hard, but I'll just go to the games, right? And then, the games, we have all these variables that we don't control. We don't know how they're going to go. Maybe the player's not going to have success during that game. Maybe the team's not going to have success. Maybe they're going to get hurt. Who knows what's going to happen. But if they want to come to the rink every day and they can't wait to get to practice and they can't wait to see their teammates and they can't wait to play hockey and they can't wait to get home from school and play hockey, right? Now we know that we can have that player. Hockey can be success for that player and for that family. The parents and the parents and the kids and the siblings can have great memories with the sport. They can love being a part, whether they make it or not, whether they play college hockey or not, play pro or not. It could be something that's a part of their life. We've seen people who play hockey now. They help volunteer and coach with their kid. They share that bond with their kid, driving to the rink and going on trips and those types of, and practicing with them at home and those types of things. And we've also seen, look, both of us, we wanted to play in the NHL and make millions of dollars one day. We played at high levels, but we didn't quite make that. And even the majority of people that make the NHL don't have it's not their lifetime career. They usually have, there's only a few people that make $20 million, $30 million in the NHL. So usually there's something else in your life. Yep. Even the guys that do, there's life after hockey, right? So what's the sport going to do for you, right? Whether you become a firefighter or a business owner or a lawyer or something else, we now, our career's in hockey. Sure. Our life is in hockey, even though it wasn't as a professional player, right?
And the vehicle or the platform hockey provides is those life skills we talk about, right? Those leadership qualities, those understanding about discipline and accountability, hard work, grit, all these things that it's such a great environment to develop those because there's so many variables and there's so many challenges. Yeah. And without challenges in life and youth sports, you're not giving your daughter or son the best chance to develop and understand how to deal with situation and adversity, right? Is critical. I think there's so many hockey stories of adversity. I have my own personal story about adversity and defying all odds and people telling me I would never make it, I'm too small, I'm too this, right? And that's why this hockey is such a great platform for that. So it's a really neat thing, and it's really something that you can't replicate it anywhere else, right? And that's why when people are hiring for business down the road, they're looking for people that can be part of a team, that are leaders, that have all these leadership skills, that because they worked in an environment. And think about the lifelong lasting memories and friendships you can make in sports, and the connections and the networking and all these things that can spin off of hockey and travel the world, all these different things that we've been able to do and other people can do as well.
I was at your wedding.
Yeah.
And, right, who were the guys at your wedding? Guys you played hockey with, or guys you met through hockey? Whether it's Tom McVeigh or Keith or myself, right? My wedding party, we didn't know each other yet, but it was all guys that I played hockey with growing up. And like you said, at pretty much every place I've been around the world, some kind of hockey experience. I want to speak to you. Mentioned about how the life lessons from hockey, and you mentioned your story. Well, maybe we'll get into that in another show. Your story and what you went through. There's two pieces of that, right? There's the macro of the journey of being a hockey player, being on a winning team, being on a team who's not winning, making a team, not making a team, getting injured, getting through that. Playing different positions, coach, having a hard time with the coach.
Sure.
But then there's also the micro part of it too. That's like day in and day out, the lessons that hockey can teach you, right? Even just in a practice or one game on a weekend, you're at your maximal physical effort.
Yep.
There's stuff happening really fast. You're failing constantly, right? You lose the puck, you get hit, you get knocked over. The referee misses a call, and it's not fair because the guy slashed you and he didn't call it. Now your coach, and now you took a penalty. Now your coach is sitting you down for being on this, and you're constantly going through the. Now then you get out, and then you have success, and you feel awesome about yourself. And then the next shift you fail again, and you feel bad, and you constantly have to go through this emotional roller coaster and toughen up and learn how to handle it and work through it, like day in and day out, every practice, every game. And think about what that does for the course of that kid's life over 15 years of playing the sport. Right.
Right, and that's the name of the game right there. That's why we're here, right? And that's the thing, like you talked about, you can't replicate that.
Yeah.
And that's why having guidance along the way with good leadership, the right training, right, and the right environment is critical, because it can go the other way really quickly, and you can lose self-esteem, confidence. You can lose it if you're treated badly or in a negative situation, and that's why you can transform kids if you have the guidance and the right leadership and the right program. And that's what we've seen, as and that's why I'm here, because I've been able to be part of that and take a kid where he was, maybe some lower self-esteem or low confidence and wasn't sure of himself and wasn't sure about his hockey for sure, wasn't sure about himself even in being in a social environment, to becoming a leader in a couple of years. To me, that's everything. And if we can do that, we're doing something right. And that's why it's so exciting, is that we have this platform that we need to utilize, and that's why we're really here.
And I want to just maybe finish with that, is that's the difference, right? Having that intentional environment. This gets back to our whole discussion in the curriculum and what we did 3 or 4 years ago with changing, with stepping back. What do we want to accomplish here? What's the intentional environment we want to create? Because like anything and like any tool, hockey, the game of hockey, it can be a tool for life, right? It can be used depending on what the focus is, right? And if we know our focus is on developing life lessons, how do we want a kid or a coach, parent to respond in this situation? We know that you can learn positive things from winning, positive things from losing, right? We also know that you can learn negative things from winning, negative things from losing, right? So how that's framed, what the culture, what the environment is, what's the intent, and so we can step back and look at, because that kid or that parent may be upset in a moment of winning, or maybe upset in a moment of losing, or happy in a moment of whatever. But if we can focus on those right things and really have that intentional path, we can make worlds of difference.
Yeah, I think it's perspective, right? And being self-aware, I think that's critical for us, is that we know that we're trying to do good things for kids, right? And we want to be part of their lives and be.
Yes, you're back.
We're back. Okay. All right, a little bit of internet feed problem there. I think that's pretty much. We're at about 30 minutes. We're going to do these shows about 30 minutes. So we'll wrap up for week 1. Thank you for staying with us for week 1, episode 1, as we iron out the kinks a little bit. We'll be doing the Inside the Junior Range show every Monday about 2 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Please remember, go in, let us know you're watching. Put in the comments below whether you're a replay watcher or live. put in your questions in the comments. We'll read through everyone, and we'll bring up those questions in our future episodes. Paul, anything to add?
Sounds good. Send us questions. We'd love to chat with you guys. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.